Hi everyone, it's Miranda with Multiplicity Crafts, and today we are going to be making 5 DIY Gelli cards. This is with the Gelli Arts printing plates, and so we'll jump right in with this first card. This one is going to be using a stencil. So for this card, all you'll need obviously is your Gelli plate and a stencil, a brayer, scrap paper, and maybe some acrylic paint or whatever medium you choose. I'm using acrylic paint for this example. Now, if you're new to Gelli plate printing, be sure to watch my previous video on that. I'll have that link below, and I had made a video all about Gelli plate printing for beginners, so you might want to watch that first if you are a newbie. So you can see here I just have a piece of just plain Jane copy paper, and I'm going to fold that up and just set that off to the side, and that'll be what I wipe my brayer on with the excess paint. And here is my very used, very well loved brayer. You can see it's a not pristine condition. And then I have these Liquitex basic acrylic paints. You can use whatever kind you have. This is just the kind I had on hand. For the first example, I'm going to use this pretty sky blue color, and I'm going to just make a few dots around my Gelli plate and use my brayer and spread that out as evenly as possible. And if you watch my video for Gelli plate for beginners, you'll remember that when we spread the paint, we kind of roll it a little bit, lift up, roll a little bit, lift up, and so on. And that way it kind of helps the paint to distribute on the brayer and on the plate better. Once you have that spread out, just place your stencil on top. You don't need to press it into place right now, just place it there. And then put your paper on top. I'm using a cardstock, but you can use printer paper or whatever you choose. And I'm just kind of rubbing that down with my hands, but I think I get better pressure with the brayer. So I'm going to wipe off the excess paint onto my extra sheet of paper there, and then just roll that, and that way it'll give me even pressure. I did get a little bit of paint from the brayer on the back, but it's not going to matter because that's going to be glued down to our card anyway. So no big deal there. So you can see when I pull this paper up, I get a really, really nice print. And I think a lot of that could be because I added a little bit of extra paint. But when you lift up the stencil, you can also get another print if you work fast enough. Acrylic paint dries quite quickly, so if you work fast enough, you can actually get another print out of that. And again, I'm going to just add some pressure with my brayer just to make sure I get a nice even print with the same pressure throughout. It just seems to work better than just using my hands, and so I'm going to press that down, make sure I get nice coverage there. And once I lift that up, you can see I can get a secondary print with the stencil. So I got two different looking prints. They're similar but different. One is the positive and one is the negative of the stencil. And so you can see there's one there, and then the other one, I almost kind of like the second one better. It's kind of this abstract, icy look. So these are the two cards that I made out of these prints. The first one I just made a simple thank you card, and then the second one, this is a very early or very late Christmas card because I am recording this in January. Next up, let's try a Gelli card with using a variety of colors. So I'm going to be using this bright yellow, pink, and green. And I think this will make a nice color combination. I kind of wanted something bright and cheery, and so I'm going to add my yellow first. There's really no rhyme or reason as to what color I'm adding first. I'm just kind of going willy-nilly, adding paint wherever I think would look good. And so I'm just going to spread that out. Now, I didn't really get enough yellow. In hindsight, I kind of wish I would have added just a little bit more of the yellow, but it's okay. It all worked out in the end. So once I have the yellow spread out, I'm going to go in with that beautiful pink color and wipe off my brayer before I go into the pink, because the pink and the yellow would make sort of an orange color, which is okay, but that's not really what I'm wanting. Now I can add the pink next to the yellow, but I just want to be careful not to overlap it too much, because if you do, it will give you orange or an orange derivative. And so that's why I am being very careful right there next to that yellow, just not to overlap too much, because I'm not wanting to mix the color. I'm just wanting to spread it at this point. And after I have all of this on here, I'm going to make sure to wipe my brayer off really well, because the next color we're going into is green. If you know, green and pink are not going to make the prettiest color. It's going to be kind of a little bit of a muddy color. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew to wipe your brayer off if you are going to a color maybe that wouldn't work so well with the previous color. Unintentionally, it kind of took over the card, but it's okay. I think it all worked out. I really like the way that the finished card turned out, as you'll see in just a moment. So I think we're good. Now, when I was spreading this out, I kind of got a little bit happy with the green, as I had mentioned, and it just kind of overtook everything. And I didn't really preserve that little yellow spot there at the top. It kind of got buried. So it's okay. I think it still shined through, and I made a little bit of a little mess up there in the middle, but it's okay. Once I spread this out and used my brayer just to add even pressure on the back of the paper, you'll see that I have a pretty nice print. Now, I did want to caution that I let my paint sit on there too long and I did not get a great print. But I salvaged it, and you'll see in just a moment the finished card of how I salvaged it. But notice when I'm lifting this up, see, not all the paint's coming up. It's because it dried too much before I did the print. So it looks kind of like a mess there, but actually the finished card isn't too bad. So hey, there you go. You never know. Next up, let's move on to making a jelly card using a magazine. Now this particular card, I'm going to be using blue and red, but to be honest with you, I think I would have almost rather did black and white. I think I would have got a little bit of a better look to my card, but it's okay. This is mostly for example purposes anyway. Now, with my own trial and error, I have found that you kind of need to add a lot of paint for the magazine prints. Not like so much to where it's just extremely thick, but when I'm spreading it, I'm kind of using a light touch because I don't really want to spread it too thin, because if I do, it's going to dry too quickly and it's not going to work as well. Once I have that spread out all over my jelly plate, I found a cute little magazine picture of a puppy dog that I'm going to be using. So I'm just ripping that out, and I'm going to put the image that I want face down onto the plate. And I'm using my brayer again to roll on the back of that just to make sure that I have some even pressure, because I'm trying to get that to transfer over onto my plate. And when I lift this paper up, you'll see that it did give me quite a nice transfer. And you can almost kind of make out the image on the jelly plate. As you'll see here, lift it up ever so gently, there is a little reverse image of the dog. Now don't worry that the image is reverse. Whenever we print it, it will be the proper way. Now I'm motioning there that we do need to let this air dry before we go on to the next color. That is a very, very important step because if you don't let it dry and you just spread your next color over the top, it's going to just muddy everything and you're going to lose your integrity of your image that you just printed from your magazine. I'm using a little bit of a light touch even still, although I know that my paint is dry. I'm just being extra cautious. So I'm using this red again. Probably a white would have looked a little bit better, but I just wanted to show you the contrast for this example. And I'm placing my paper down. Again, you guessed it, using the brayer to apply even pressure throughout the image. Now at this point, I am pressing quite firmly because I want to make sure that I get a really good transfer. It's still going to look somewhat abstract when you pull the image away, but that's okay. That's kind of the look that Gelli plate printing gives, so it's its own unique look. You'll notice there that the blue paint on the corners is not pulling up, and that's because it's completely dry. But we're not worried about that because, ta-da, our main image did turn out. I did add a little bit of colored pencil around the image and around the words just to refine it. Finally, we are going to look at making a Gelli card using circle punches. This is just using 1-inch circle punches. And I'm going to do this in a pink and white color theme. So once I have the paint spread nice and evenly, I'm going to just add these little 1-inch punches that I had punched out of little scrap papers I had. I'm just placing them here and there, and I'm trying to work quickly because, as we remember, acrylic paint dries very, very fast. Now, I wish I would have kind of taken a little bit more time to lay these out a little bit nicer, but it's okay. I think it looked all right whenever my card was done. So after you pull this up, you can get another print out of it if you work fast enough. But all I was caring about was this initial print, and you can see the finished card. I think it's so cute with a little dog there and the thank you. So I hope this was enjoyable for you and that maybe you learned something new. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I would also love to hear from you anyway. If you're not already a subscriber, I do invite you to subscribe and leave a thumbs up for more videos. Thanks for watching.